right. Hey, welcome to the Nerd BS Podcast. I'm Kyle, and the Nerd BS Podcast stands for Bachelor of Science. And I have 3 of those. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just a scholar basically, and it comes natural to me. I pretty much just write a paper. I'm kidding. I have to stop there. I don't even have one BS. I'm full of BS. I have a BA. But no, Nerd BS stands for Nerd Backstory, which means we want to talk about nerd stuff. We want to give like the backstory or what it really means to us is what we're trying to say. And with me, as always, are the cohort, aka Tomas.
I'm excited. I'm sorry. I zoned out there for a second on the whole BS thing. But yeah, I'm here. And
You have one of those.
yes, I have a
right?
BA.
What's yours in again?
History.
Oh, that's right. We talk about it all the time. And then also with us, of course, is Alan.
I feel a little left out because I don't have a BA. I got an AA, but that's about it.
There you go.
Anyways, bunch of arts over here. That's all we got. A bunch of arts and farts.
Bunch of a-holes.
Bunch of a-holes.
Arts and farts.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited for this episode. I'm always excited, but we actually are restructuring kind of how we do things. So to start, we're going to try to keep it to an hour. That being said, there's no promises. However, we want to try to keep it to an hour because we feel like that's about the maximum amount of time you could listen to us and still like us. But again, no promises there. But I guess the biggest thing is that we're going to be cutting out a lot of stuff, all just to make it sound better and give us a little bit less stress. And we really just love doing it. And so we want to make it better. We want to make it better for you guys listening. And that being said, we appreciate you guys listening. We really do. It means a lot to us that you'd actually be willing to hear us out and listen to our nerd BS. And on that note, Alan, if somebody wants to get a hold of us or talk to us or just send us an email, where can they get in contact with us?
If you want to get in contact with us and ask questions or yell at one of us for crazy tangents, you can contact us at nerdbackstory@gmail.com or on Twitter, which is probably the easiest way. We have a Twitter at nerd_BS, or if you want to contact me personally, you can go at ScadMatrix. And if you really like us and want to join our growing community on Discord, we have a Discord where we plan on doing some more gaming and things like that. Just send me a message at any of those places and I can send you an invite and you can join in the fun.
And also give us a review if you want to.
Oh, please. Yes. Rate and review. We're on YouTube as well. So if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're not, check it out, subscribe, like, comment, all that jazz.
All that jazz. Exactly. I've just decided to call this segment Culture, right? What's happening? What's coming up? What's going to be happening? So Culture. It sounds weird. We'll work on that. But anyways, WandaVision is out and 2 out of 3 of us have watched it. And so we're going to try to make this pitch. Maybe we'll call this dang it, there's already a pitch meeting and it's really a wonderful, funny YouTube segment. But we're going to try to pitch this show to Tomas while also giving criticism of it. So WandaVision, Alan, what are your thoughts on this show?
I am in absolute love with this show right now. It is engrossing me so much and pulling me in as I went from the start just as a lighthearted, and it was just an episode that was very reminiscent to Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie, but with just a subtle hint of there's something else going on here. And then the next episode piles on that, and the next episode piles on that even heavier until you get to the most recent episode. And this is what I told Tomas. Don't look up things. Now that you're this far behind, don't look up anything yet. Wait, because the 4th episode does a huge info dump, and it kind of explains a lot of it. So just go for it and get to that point, because I actually was doing a lot of back research before that. But I'm loving it. I'm loving everything about it. I have so many speculations and crazy theories that I want to discuss with you folks. I don't know about you, Kyle. I'm really interested because you just started watching this recently. I've been on the road for a little while, but you piled in what piled in a couple all the episodes in one day. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, I watched them all in a row, basically, with my parents actually, because I knew, like, you gave a good
Oh, that's
summary
even
of it. I
perfect.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of knew going into it what I was getting into, and so it was funny. They didn't know who the characters were, so I had to explain the backstory on Vision and Wanda, or Scarlet Witch, of where they were, and they're like, they're Avengers. We don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on, but they are like, oh, this is Bewitched. And the next episode, what was the other one? I Dream of Genie, and
Yeah.
then the other one was
I got
Brady
close to the
Bunch.
Pretty Bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, so they were digging that, but there was that, like you said, we'll try not to spoil anything. Okay, we won't spoil it. We'll just say that. We
Yeah.
won't. But you
Now
mentioned
is
it.
not the
Let me
time.
just say, yeah, you said this. Every episode had a little. There was like, okay, something else is going on in the background, and it was very clear that they were doing that. It wasn't like, did you catch that? It was very clear that, okay, something else is different. And you mentioned episode 4. I kind of It took a big turn, like you said, and I kind of lost interest. It was such a big churn.
Yeah.
I was enjoying the other segments so much. Um, it's not really what I wanted, but I enjoyed it on another level, if that makes sense. Like, I was
Yeah.
expecting a Marvel show with action and stunts and stuff, but it wasn't that. But then when they kind of shifted away from what they were doing, I was like, "Ah, okay, that was a hard churn. It was a really big churn." And it's all leading up to something.
Yeah, and I've had the pleasure of being able to watch it with my wife and son at the same time. It's been really good, just family time while we're watching the show, Marvel show, and that was the first one of the first things she said to me after we watched the 4th episode was kind of, "What? Why did we just, like, just completely do a 180 and, like, do." Like, it was interesting, but I think she would have preferred, keeping it more vague and actually focusing on
Yeah,
going through the timelines instead of doing this huge info dump, which is actually I still enjoy the info dump just because it pulls you back into the MCU. Like, you're in the MCU during the previous episodes, and they're very subtle about it, but then that one really pulls you back in, and you're just like, "Oh, man, there's."
yeah.
It kinda confirms a lot of your theories and also pushes aside a lot of the other ones and still keeps a couple of things vague, but I understand both sides of what you're saying.
Yeah, I think maybe a slower progression into that back to the
Yeah,
MCU would have been better, but maybe they want you to feel like what the characters are going through, where they're completely, jolted, like, "Oh, what's happening?"
yeah,
That's kind of what it felt like,
and
"Wah, I don't like this."
I really love like, I really miss how well, like, especially after watching a couple other DC films recently, and we'll talk about that later, but, uh, the subtlety in the little Easter eggs and just the bits and pieces in the first episode, for instance, when the major event happens, that kind of pulls you out like, "Oh, crap, this is like, something's going on here," uh not like the music changes, uh, the
Mm,
quality of the film changes. You can see,
mhm.
like, the quality changes, like, it goes from, "We're watching a TV show," to, "Oh, crap. This now we know this is happening, like, this is, like, real life compared to the fantasy." And, like the toaster, how, made the noise, and you'll hear it later, but, like, stuff like that, it's just like, "Oh, man, there's just so much packed here." It's so fun to just unpack it later to me. It's just bring it back MCU, man. They know what they're doing, and you really can see it here.
So, have we sold it to you yet, Tomas?
I was just gonna say, like, first problem on your guys' pitch is 11 minutes too long. So let's just no. I think it sounds interesting. I think it sounds like something that will have my attention. The curiosities though that I have, for example, is like the I've seen previews of it or commercials for it and stuff, and like you were saying, Alan, the visual quality and stuff. I feel like that might take me out of it. I have trouble with indie games because I don't
Huh.
like the graphics, and I don't know if I want to watch a show that goes black and white, if I'm not mistaken, and then color
Yeah.
and black and white and
It's the
color. And
first 2 episodes, and
No,
I think
it
they
doesn't.
do a
Yeah,
good job at keeping it limited because they know their audience, and I can see how you'd have that problem. I mean, I enjoy watching black and white stuff. That's just me, though. I love that stuff. I love silent films and things like that
I
just
do.
because that's me.
Mhm,
What are you saying,
I do
Kyle?
too. I do. I like the black and white too, and it doesn't switch back and forth.
No.
Let me try to give the short pitch here, like an actual pitch. I feel like that was just us
I just wanna talk
summarizing
about
it.
it.
Here's
Yeah,
the
sorry.
pitch. This show is nothing like you've seen in the MCU, with the same level of quality and excitement that the MCU gives you.
Yeah.
That being said, I think this show has to be watched on a weekly basis, because if you do it on, like, if you wait for all of them to come out and watch them in a row, the suspense and the questions you have and then what's going to happen next won't be part of that. And some shows can get away with that, like, all the Netflix shows usually get dumped all at once.
mhm,
That's their thing. This show you have to watch on a weekly basis to go, what's happening next? Like, I think you could watch Mandalorian back to back
mhm,
because it's almost built like a movie. This show, you need to have that suspense of, like, what's going on, what's happening, and that's what keeps us going. And it looks like it's transitioning in the next couple episodes into something like I was saying, to the MCU.
mhm.
So it's definitely worth watching in the moment.
Okay, so let me
Yeah.
ask you guys one other question about this. So, in terms of selling me on it, or just to talk about it, actually, uh, the fact that you have Wanda and Vision in it, who were, I would say Wanda definitely started coming into her own right in the MCU movies, but Vision was always still kind of sidelined to me. Like, he had his moments every now and then of shining where they'd focus on him. I'm not saying that his character isn't good or anything, or that the character isn't well made, but he's definitely not a frontline Avenger. uh do you have that feeling here, where you're just like waiting for Hulk or Iron Man to show up, or are you content with B list?
Absolutely, positively not. I do not care that none of the other people are there right now.
All right.
They do such a good job of focusing on these characters, and I can't remember her name right now who plays Wanda, but she is
Olsen. She's one of the Olsen sisters,
yeah,
not twins,
yeah,
but
yeah,
the sister of the twins.
episode 3, and I won't ruin it the moment that happens, but there's a moment in that episode where, holy crap, her acting skills are, like, off the chain. Like,
Off the chain.
if this, show earns an Emmy, it'll because of that scene. It was great, and I just didn't
Yeah,
realize how good of an actress she was until, specifically, like, the entire show, she's great, but specifically that scene is like, "Holy crap, she knows what she's doing, and I believe her."
Hmm.
Like, I believe what's
mm,
going on.
yeah.
So,
I would agree with Alan. I actually don't want any front line Avengers to show
Hmm.
up, because it's like, no, 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 this is their time.
Hmm.
Like, I need to know more about them. There are cameos though too, and I won't spoil, but they're like little cameos, and you're like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like when you see the, yeah. So, but yeah, the cameos don't pull from the two main characters of Vision and Wanda, and I definitely don't want to see, if like Tony Stark were to show up, I'd be kind of mad.
Hmm.
In all
yeah.
honesty,
'Cause he would just steal the limelight, and we
Yeah.
would steal
yeah.
the light, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they do a good job with these guys. So
Mhm.
yeah, watch it, man.
Alright. Well, yeah, I'll have to give it a shot, and actually, one of the main reasons that I was holding back was 'cause, one of the things that kind of frustrated me about Mandalorian was waiting for the next episode. So I was just like, "No, I'm just gonna watch all of this in one block." But apparently it sounds
It's
like that's a bad idea, so
Well, because and it'll get spoiled. I guarantee you,
yeah,
you're going to get spoiled somewhere somehow, because
especially after
it's
episode 4, yeah, you would
Mhm.
just
yeah, it's just it's too much, and because we don't know what's going to happen next. But once it comes out this weekend, Fridays, they come out Fridays. Oh yeah, it's just
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
it's
it's
Friday,
Friday.
yeah, it's Friday.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
just
'cause my
we're
son
back to
gets
regular TV. Have you guys noticed
Yeah.
that? It's like
I love
Fridays
it.
is Disney, Netflix does all at once, which is kind of cool, but
Mhm.
I
it's
love
weird.
the weekly show because I can get, my family together, and we all know, like, after my son gets out of school because he has, like, half day, we all know after school, we get lunch and we watch WandaVision. It's been really fun.
That's
I like it too because I can catch up and then stay on top of it
And the episodes
better.
are actually fairly short as well. I think that each of them has been
yeah.
either at or roughly under 30 minutes. So,
Yeah,
I think the first episode is only like 24 minutes because they're really trying to put in that this is an old sitcom.
Mhm.
yeah. And maybe they'll put them on like cable TV one day, and it's like time formatted for that. I don't know,
It's
but
very
anyways,
possible. Yeah.
we're gonna continue talking about superheroes, but we're gonna do the segment that I have come up with called Counterpoint, and it's not gonna be a weekly thing. It's gonna be whenever we feel passionate about something, something world changing that we all don't agree on. And this week's topic is the movie Shazam. Is it a good movie or is it the worst in the DC universe when it comes to films?
So I just thought of this, and I think it'll be fun. I watched it, and that's the exciting part. I know we were talking about we've been on this podcast
We
for a while, and I keep saying I haven't watched Shazam, I haven't watched all these ones. I finally watched One, then I watched WW84, then I finally watched Shazam, and I finally watched Aquaman. But Shazam, when we were talking about on Discord, we had a course between us about quality and how Kyle's input of it has gone downhill each time I talk to him about it. So because I just watched the most recently, and I think you guys have the most experience with it, I'm gonna go. I want to go. I'm gonna go back and forth, and I think Tomas should start because he's gonna go positive. And so, Tomas, why don't you give
yes.
us your pitch?
So
Why Shazam is the best DC movie, or at least one of the best DC of the new DC universe?
yeah, in the current, I guess, current DC universe.
Yeah, like
Ah,
Yeah,
anything after Dark Knight, anything
mm,
after Dark Knight, I think is
yeah.
what I guess, but not counting
yeah,
Joker. I
Well,
don't know. I think Joker's
I
technically not.
I don't think Joker's part of that universe. It's a different yeah. It's a different
that would make there'd be two Jokers
yeah.
in that
Yeah.
universe then, which it's happened.
Uh,
Like
well,
whatever.
well,
Anyways,
actually,
yeah,
we could have a whole podcast on that because there was something interesting I noticed about that movie, but we can talk about that later. But anyways, yeah. So for Shazam, I would say that Shazam was probably the best. I enjoyed Aquaman. I enjoyed Wonder Woman. I did not enjoy Suicide Squad. I did not enjoy Justice League. I did not enjoy Batman v Superman, but I thought Shazam was great, and mainly because
mm,
Shazam was a different movie, and they made it different. It wasn't Shazam being Batman. It wasn't Superman being Batman. It wasn't Batman being to Batman. It was just, it was a completely different character. It was a real character. It was fun too. It was so fun to watch. And everything is it's lighthearted in the sense that yes, you're not like, oh, world's doomed and everything, but it's just so I just can't say it any other way. It's just so fun. It is fun. It's the funnest DC movie you'll watch.
Yeah, so I was gonna let you go now, Kyle. I was gonna give him 5 minutes, but I figured whatever. This
oh,
is we're all
well,
learning now.
we're gonna go back and forth right now in a
Yeah,
minute, so don't
exactly.
worry about it. It's gonna
Alright,
happen.
so why don't you do your opening argument there, Kyle? Why is this the worst DC movie ever made? I don't know. I don't know if that's what you said, but
Yeah, well, I think for me it is. Um, I think it falls under the spell. I'll give you the point. I'll give you the point, Tomas, that it did try to be different, but they failed, in my opinion. You could see where they tried, but I think they couldn't help themselves, and they had to make it dark, and they had to make it gritty. And because they tried to do something different, but couldn't get away from that format, they hurt themselves. And here's the best example was the enemies, the cloud
Mhm.
enemies, the monster things. Like first of all, there's too many. right? And so it just became like, so it's just like ridiculous that and we talked about this with Wonder Woman. Too many villains, right? Too many villains in the pot,
Mhm.
and it's convoluted, and then their powers are inconsistent, and especially with the fight at the end where they just all of a sudden they can beat them when before they couldn't, and there's no explanation as to why. But they had to do the thing where they're, they were like you said, they're trying to go light, like different, maybe not lighthearted, but they're trying to do different, right? More comic booky. But they decided, instead of making these comic book looking monsters, they tried to bring in the realism, which I'm just so sick of. I'm sick of those generic noises that, everything sounds like a dinosaur when you're a monster in those movies. And it's just like, it's become so generic to me. And I felt like this was just another rinse and repeat of the DC universe that tried to be different, but couldn't help themselves and had to put all the nitty gritty in there. I mean, even with the parent thing where he was orphaned, and that's totally Batman, right? Like, well, I guess Batman's were killed, but like, like it's still, he was orphaned,
Yeah.
right? And he lived in the group home and da 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 and hated it. It's just like, oh, give me a break. So yeah, I guess there's my opening spiel on that.
I'm interested to see where you guys go with this because I agree with a lot of the things you said, Kyle. Even though I like this movie a lot, there were too many of them. Even though they're going for the seven deadly sins, and they were definitely not super uh, well CG. They seem to be very similar to the ones we saw in Justice League and Batman v
Hmm.
Superman. They were kind of like meh. I think it's a problem with DC in general. Uh, but I don't know about the orphan thing because yeah, that is another orphan. But at the same time, it's like I can't think of any other right off the top of my head of the Justice League that are actually orphans at the ones that have been currently released. Besides Batman, I mean, you have Batman, but Superman has a family just fine. Wonder Woman has a family as well,
Um,
just fine. I don't know who else is in the new Justice League.
Wonder Woman doesn't have a dad, first of all. Superman is adopted.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Superman,
One,
Superman is definitely an orphan. He doesn't have a planet. Like,
No, no,
yeah,
but
he's
but
he's
but but
adopted.
Clark Kent was raised by the Kents. Like his family is like a loving, full family.
but I will say this. I will say this in Alan's defense on Wonder Woman. She has a dad. It's a god though, but it's a dad.
Yeah,
I mean, he just doesn't visit very
is
often.
it Zeus? I
But
think it was Zeus, right?
yeah,
Well,
I
there you
believe so.
go. There you go.
But
Same
anyways,
thing.
but I get a lot of things you were saying. Is all I was getting at. And but I also really enjoyed this movie as well. The generics noises and things like that. I think that's just the problem with the DC movies in general right now.
Yeah,
Did
it's
you
like
have any?
copy and paste.
Yeah. Did you have any counterpoints there, Tomas? Before I say anything else?
Well, I mean, so in Kyle's argument, he mentions that they did do a lot of the same things with the villain, and I will agree to that. There are seven different villains, which does kind of get, well, there's more than seven there, but it does get a little
Yeah,
hectic.
that's true.
It
Yeah,
does.
it's not even just that too, because like he said, there's seven different villains, and I think the biggest problem with those villains is they're supposed to be the seven deadly sins,
Mhm.
right? But each one of them is almost they look different, but honestly, they're completely identical in what they can do.
Yeah,
Like they does, I didn't see anything in unique with each of them, which you should see something unique between gluttony and envy. I mean, they're two different
yeah.
things, and so that would make complete sense if they were like had different powers. And also the main superhero. It would have been nice if he had actually a power set that was encompassing that. Instead, he just had more Shazam powers. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, to be honest with you, I feel like the whole thing with the seven deadly sins, yes, they should be different than one another. You're right, Alan, because envy should be much different than gluttony, and lust should be much different than wrath. But um, one thing that I would say, and this is where I think the biggest problem with Shazam comes in, is I feel like the villain wasn't developed well.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
and I feel like the 7 deadly sins are really just the one villain. They're all just an extension of him, but that's not
So
explained well. And it's not
yeah,
explained well how his, like I was telling Alan, we were playing Avengers, and I was telling Alan, Shazam's villain, yeah, was a little wonky because like he was mad his dad his dad didn't love him, and Alan was like, well, actually it was because the wizard betrayed him, and I was like, see, that's the problem. We got two different.
Rejected him, not betrayed him.
Yeah, sorry, rejected him. And I was like, and then he goes on this hyper search for him. And so like that's kind of the problem. You have very I enjoyed the movie a lot, but I hadn't seen it as recently as Alan, so I didn't remember the details as well. So that I think can become a problem when you don't remember it's not told well enough that you remember the details clearly.
So here's my counterpoint. With all of the negatives, I know I've even brought a lot of these negatives. The point is when I watched the movie from start to finish, I had none of these problems or none of these questions. I actually enjoyed the movie entirely as full. Granted, looking back, there was a lot of weird problems, but when I watched Justice League, when I watched Batman v Superman, even when I watched Wonder Woman, the most recent, not the newest one, the one that everybody likes.
First
Um,
one.
yeah, the first one.
Mhm,
uh, there was a lot of problems I saw while I watched it.
mhm,
Whereas in this one, I actually was easily able to skip a lot of those because the story was told in a way that was enjoyable from start to finish. And I think that's why I enjoyed the movie so much and was so pumped about it. Now, giving it some time, I can totally see the faults with it and actually probably enjoy Aquaman a little bit better. But at the time, I was easily tying the two for my enjoyment, just for the simple fact that the movie itself flows to the point where I can enjoy it from the beginning, the middle, and the end, and come leaving away with goosebumps watching that end credits scene that's like just a bunch of random bull crap. But I was
mhm,
enjoying it because I
mhm,
just enjoyed this amazing movie.
mhm.
You got anything negative to say, Kyle, about that? What
Well,
you got?
wait, right before Kyle says something, actually, right before Kyle says something, because I want to make one other point real quick.
Wow.
Hey,
Wow.
hey,
Cut him
man,
off.
hey,
I
we're
see.
just,
I
I gotta
mean,
just say,
yeah, no, you got to talk, and then I got to talk, but I guess I don't get to talk.
Say it quick, Tomas. Go.
yeah, it's gonna be
You're gonna
really
say
quick,
something.
I
Say it.
promise. All right. The one thing that I say it puts Shazam above the rest is I still want to see the sequel for Shazam more than anything. When I got done watching the first Shazam, I was like, I want to see a sequel. The other ones,
Okay.
I haven't really been like that, but go ahead, Kyle.
Okay, Kyle. Good.
Okay. Yeah, I think the story was too much. Like, there's just so many scenes they could have cut down. Not cut out scenes completely, just cut down the time on it. And what was the other scene I was thinking about? Oh, the whole scene with his mom, like him finding his mom, that could have just been shortened. Like, let's get on with this. And I thought the pacing was terrible. Like, I did not have fun. A big thing for movies is that the time and place and where you're at, because I was expecting to feel the way you guys felt about it.
Mm,
Like, I thought, because I'd heard reviews and I was expecting it to be like, oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to be different. And I even went with a grain of salt. I was like, you know what, though? It's still DC, so it could suck. And I just felt like it dragged on. Like 30 minutes of that movie could have been cut down, and I probably would have enjoyed it better. And the other thing that we talked about, I know we talked about this earlier in the week, was that the disconnect from the kids acting to Shazam, the adult version, was so far for me that I couldn't get into it. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that was probably the only thing that I noticed even while watching it during it was that the Shazam character acted much different than the child because the child seemed more like an adult, whereas the Shazam seemed more like a kid. But I know me and Tomas had a discussion, like you said, we were doing Avengers, and maybe this won't mean anything to you, but we kind of came to a conclusion that uh, the reason why it was so different, or if you wanted to explain it away. Uh, when you wear a mask, especially as a kid, you're able to portray yourself in a different way. And I think wearing the Shazam as Shazam was able to let him let loose in a way. Not to say it's perfect, but that's just an explanation.
No, I get it. Yeah. I thought about that too, of like, okay, oh, he has all these powers, so he's going to react differently. But it was so different. Like,
It
there's no
was, yeah.
way. And even after you get the powers, you'd think that the kid version would be like a little bit more peppy. Like, hey, I know I could do this, but he
Hmm.
wasn't. Like, that was
That is
the
true.
thing to me.
That is a valid argument against that. Is that he didn't change after the fact.
Yeah, so I get that. Like that's probably what they were going for, but it was too far,
Mhm.
and there's obviously they never acted in the same scene together, so that was probably part of it because they're playing the same person. But they were probably on set at some point,
Yeah,
I
I would
just it
imagine.
was too much. It's a comic book movie. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much to me. I just thought it was boring.
All right, you got a final word, Tomas. I think we're gonna move on.
For me, I guess it's that the mentality. I guess I go into the mentality of the character, which is probably thinking too deep. But like for me, it's like, man, if I can throw a car, then I can do whatever I want. I'm gonna have fun with this. If I can't throw a car, then I might be quiet and shy and reserved because I can't do anything. Like, yeah, even afterwards he knows he can do those things, but he only knows he can do those things as Shazam.
Which you could turn to at any time, though.
But I
Uh,
don't think they drew that part out of it either. Like they
yeah,
didn't really explain that, oh, now that I'm Shazam, I'm gonna act differently. The one thing I did like about it, better than the other DC movies, was the costume. I thought his costume was awesome. Like
it was.
that was what drew me into the movie. I was
Yeah,
like, that looks like the comics.
yeah,
That's what I've always wanted. So I love that.
When you compare it to the Superman costume that we got, it was fine, but it was very, very, very dark compared to what the
mhm,
Washed
Superman I think
out.
we're mostly used to. But yeah, I do definitely this didn't change my opinion. But if you want to talk more about it, come to our Discord and
yeah.
maybe we could try to convince Kyle that Shazam's actually good, or you know what, shut Tomas down.
I think you guys have been brainwashed by the DC universe that
Oh,
everything's so bad that anything remotely good is like this is great.
I'll give Kyle that right there. That is a valid statement.
no, no!
That's how
Look
you
at
make a
this
universe. You make
guy.
a couple trash movies, and then anything you make
like
is
well
good.
compared to the rest of the movies,
Yeah,
this is amazing. Like yeah, well let's throw it in the Marvel universe and see where it stands up.
yeah.
It's like
That's the biggest
no,
issue. Is like when you stand up against the Marvel universe, you're done because honestly, Marvel universe is leagues beyond this. I am excited for WandaVision because of Marvel. Yeah, it was
You
great.
guys, you can't compare. You can't compare Michelangelo and Raphael. They're two different people. They're two different
No, no,
people.
you totally can. You totally can. No one says you can't.
That's two different ages, two different places, two different state of minds.
well I think you could still compare them. And I rewatched every Marvel movie. I have no desire to rewatch any
I'm
of the
sitting
DC
here about to
movies.
rewatch them all too. You said you did that, and I've watched WandaVision playing the Marvel game, and I'm like sitting here ready to do it
It's
again. I'm
true.
like, all right,
It's a haul though.
It's
I'll warn
yeah,
you.
it's true. I've watched a
It's
lot of the Marvel movies multiple times, except for the ever so cringy Iron Man 3. But I mean, the other ones are just awesome.
dude,
Don't.
it's not that okay. That'll be next episode.
next counterpoint, Iron Man 3. You
Ne-
heard it here. All
Iron
right,
Man
let's move on.
3, actually, that might work.
Where are we going
But
next,
since we're
Kyle?
on, yeah, we're on the Avengers. So this is perfect. We're talking about Avengers, and you brought it up last podcast, Alan. You've been playing alone. It's
Oh,
kind of like the story of the game. You were the single lone Avenger trying to assemble the rest of us together, and you're still kind of struggling, but we're there now. We're at least
yeah.
online
I
and
got Kyle. I got
powering up
Tomas in. Yeah, I got Tomas in. I got Kyle in first, but
separately. Yeah.
he's been a little busy, but we're gonna try to get it together because when I got Tomas in after we got to the end game, it was so fun when we
Yeah,
started playing together. I was
it
like,
was.
"Holy crap! This is like a whole new level of
Mm.
enjoyment of this game." Because I've been playing it primarily solo or with randoms online, and you can't really talk to them. Or when you do, you always got that uncomfortable like introducing each other. And
Mhm.
are you gonna like try to make friends, or are you just gonna just do the mission? You got to
Shut the
figure it
hell
out.
up and get this done.
Yeah, so it's like it's actually I found that it was more fun to just play solo, and that's the sad part about it is you could do everything solo, but I think the most exciting thing we got was the war table. We were talking about it a bit. We got a war table coming up in February 16th, which is really exciting for me because I just want more content. Now I'm at that point where I'm ready for something else in this
Mm.
game.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that it's gonna be the same thing. I'm hoping we're getting
Yeah.
Kate or Hawkeye at the end of February at the latest.
Mhm.
I
I
actually
hope it's
think
Spider-Man.
So
'Cause
Spider-Man, they haven't said nothing about
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
that's crazy. That was the big
I
hype
know.
about
Yeah,
it,
I
though,
don't know
and that
what's
was a
happened
year
with that.
ago.
That is
And, let me
the most annoying part. Yeah.
we had a you had a question about how I don't know how his physics are gonna work, and after playing as Black Widow, he's just gonna work like Black Widow.
Actually, you
Like,
know someone else who I think well, when you say that, I think he's gonna work like Kamala Khan with her stretchy arms. She just swings around the levels, man.
yeah, but, like,
There's a
uh
specific city level where you could actually swing around on the lamppost as Kamala. It's
Mhm.
slower than walking or moving
Yeah,
normally, but it is like I was like,
yeah,
this is kind of like Spider-Man. I mean, much slower and
yeah.
whatever, but
Although I
kind
do
of.
although I do see what Kyle's saying with Widow also because you got that quick X zipline thing that you can
yeah,
do.
That
But
yeah.
okay, so this is okay. I'm addicted to Avengers. I'm loving the game way more than I probably should.
yeah.
It is exactly
I
what I
think that
want.
looks cool. That's
Uh,
awesome, and you
and I'm
got it for cheap.
Mhm.
I know I got it really cheap. Like I'm ready to platinum this thing. I'm actually getting pretty close. But it's crazy. But because I've been doing that, I've been finding all the little faults, and so
Mm,
I was kind of leading into
mhm,
this, and I had this discussion with Tomas on the Avengers when we were playing Avengers about some faults of the things that are coming and the worries of them. So, for instance, Hawkeye, they say he's going to play a lot different, but obviously he'll probably play similar to Kate in the sense that
Yeah.
they're both archers.
And one trained the other.
Yeah, one train the other. We have Black Panther, which could easily be similar to Captain America or even Black Widow, and then we have Spider
mm.
Man, who you just said could be actually similar to Black Widow, which I didn't think about that. But that was a valid point.
At least the web slinging.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's all I mean.
Well,
Yeah.
and the way they
but
move in combat is because Black Widow does have that very agile combat style, and I imagine that that Spider-Man would be that way too.
so this
True.
is where it gets even more annoying. Okay, so one of the main bosses in the game, and I hope I don't spoil this too much for you, Kyle, but is Abomination, right? So I don't know if you've seen that yet. I hope I didn't ruin that, but whatever.
Oh, no, no.
It's too late. Uh,
He looked cool.
Yeah.
No, I
okay, so
thought his
he
character
looks
model actually
cool,
looked pretty cool.
but he's just a Hulk. Like he's pretty much a reskinned
Right.
Hulk. And then the next boss that's coming with Hawkeye is Maestro, which if you know who Maestro
Mhm.
is literally Hulk
Yeah.
from
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
another
yeah,
timeline.
yeah. That's right.
So if he's a boss, is it just going to be just like fighting Abomination?
Mm,
I mean,
Okay, but
that's
here's something I thought of later, Alan, after talking to you about
okay.
so Maestro, though, you said that he's got the intelligence of Banner, but like the muscle of
Yes,
Hulk, right?
but he has other powers of Hulk.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, you could actually maybe be fighting something along the lines of like a tactical Hulk, maybe someone that attacks you and then retreats, and then
I'm not saying he can't
Yeah,
strategically be different, but either way, it's still gonna be a giant green guy
it's
that's
true.
gonna be
Okay.
smashing me around.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Uh, that's all I was kidding. Wherever he would, unless he creates like robots or something weird that's like okay, whatever. Uh, my only worry is that they really need to break out of this and start giving us something that's a little bit more technically different. I don't mean to depress though, because I do love this
Yeah.
game. I think it's so amazing. I really worry about them creating interesting content, and the Cloning Labs thing is going to be fun whenever that comes out. But that's going to be like, and this goes. I'm worried about actually being able to do it with you guys because they're saying estimating an hour to 2 hours
Oh
to
wow.
finish one of these Cloning Lab things. So it's supposed to be a very large dungeon or whatever it
Yeah.
is
Wow.
to defeat. It's not technically a raid. They
Mhm.
specifically said it's not a raid. They're talking about doing raids whenever Black Panther comes out. They're talking about doing raids then and Wakanda, the Wakandan expansion or whatever. But
Mhm.
uh, but still, it's a very large chunk of content, and I really hope we're going to get it with Hawkeye. But I feel like that's not going to be the case. I mean, Spider-Man would be great, but the thing is they need to be able to put content in with Spider-Man to make doing the new content with a new
Yeah.
character exciting. Yeah.
You're right.
Because if
You're
you're
right.
just going back in, doing Spider-Man, doing all the old stuff you've already done, you're gonna just leave
But
after
it
you're done.
helps.
They also should really start to work more closely with Marvel because yes, this is published by Square Enix. It's not made by Square Enix, but it's published. Square Enix also works with Disney when they did the what's it called, Alan? The key game where you have a sword and
Oh, Kingdom
shoot.
Hearts.
Yeah,
Kingdom
Kingdom
Hearts,
Hearts.
the key game. I love it.
So
Oh, that's
so
great.
I mean,
Big fan
I feel like
over
I
here.
feel like it wouldn't be hard for them to get their foot in the door because they've already made a game where they've worked with this company before.
It's not about if you can do it, it's about when you're gonna be able to do it, because there's just a lot of stuff you have to go, a lot of hoops you gotta jump through, with Marvel to get it done.
Mhm.
So, they've been having
Yeah.
issues with it, so Marvel has something special with the MCU, and I think they're very careful on where they're gonna
Yeah.
where they're gonna let a lot of it go.
My thing though, that's kind of it's been part of the reason why I haven't been playing as much, and um, maybe Tomas, maybe you could speak to this a little bit more because you seem to play games similar to this. But I came straight from The Last of Us 2,
Mhm.
which is like a technically speaking, a Marvel.
Yeah.
No pun intended. I platinum that game, so I put well over 30, almost 40 hours into that game within a couple weeks. But then, I come into the Avengers, which is a really good game, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's polished yet. It's getting there, I think, and they're probably adding patches and new content and all that. But, comparing them side by side, which, going back to your argument, Tomas, with the movies, that might not be fair, but my hands are just like, wait, this is not
Yeah.
as smooth as the last game
Yeah.
I just played, and it's been a little bit of a stumbling block because I'm like, wow, like I literally like I don't think I've gotten stuck or nothing game breaking, but I remember just like I fell down a few cliffs on some of those like platforming sections with
Yeah.
Kamal.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what did I do?
Yeah.
There's
What
a
happened?
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
lot of weird little bugs too, and that's kind of where I'm wondering too. Is that I think they're having issues getting the MCU stuff, because I think the MCU, they gave some stuff to Fortnite and things like that, but I think they're waiting until this game can do well on its own before it just relies on the MCU
mhm.
stuff, and then they can put support into it. But I mean that's a good point though. Yeah, of how going from a triple A, very polished game, and this is supposed to be another triple A,
Yeah.
very polished
Yeah,
game, and it's just it doesn't have that level of care.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it is a triple A game. I think their focus is different, right? Online,
Yeah,
there's 1,000 missions you could do. The Last of Us is a one player linear. It's a linear story. You're going and that was nice for me. I just prefer that. And so it's just, time and place for me. If I had played it in reverse, maybe it would have been totally different. Maybe I
mhm,
would have loved it
And
more.
also for me, Kyle, you bring a good point because I found myself the other day. I was playing and I was getting frustrated because at one point I went into a building and the whole area was so dark that I couldn't see anything. And so
Oh,
hmm,
I had to reload the game, and then when I went in the building again, it was fine, and I was like, "Okay." And I kept going through the game, and a little while later, we went through a load screen, and there on the screen was double of everything. So there were, like, 2
oh,
Hulks
yeah.
walking around, and, like
the
That's
heck?
freaky.
yeah,
That's
and,
crazy.
like, one of them's a little
That's probably
more
the biggest bug I've heard of, because I've had some bugs, but I've
yeah,
never had anything that
and
major.
one's a little blurrier than the other, so it's like it looks like your character got punched in the face, and they're, like, circling around. So that was really bad, but it's only happened a few times. And then there was,
But
like
still,
and then
yeah,
and then there were the times, like, when I was playing with Alan the other day where he was
yeah,
playing
we
with
had a bad
Kit.
problem with it.
So a lot of it comes down to though, Kyle, is that I love Avengers, and so I'm willing to
Yeah, I do
overlook
too.
it. But it is
Mhm,
true. It does get hard because it's like Alan and I were talking about it, I think a little bit last night. Like I'm getting pretty close to putting this down, and I've been playing it
Hmm.
pretty religiously, but I've only been playing it for about a week or so. I put phew, I don't know how many hours in Amalur, and it's worse. graphic wise than this. So
Well, that's an older game though.
so it's kind of like, yes, this is a great game. It's AAA. It has graphics, but it doesn't have enough content for me to sink my teeth into. It's not like Neo
Yeah.
or Last of Us. You know,
I love it too. I still think it's a great game. I still need to finish it so we can all hop on together. But
I just wish there was a game where we could all play, you know, with our favorite characters and make teams and just, you know,
I want
I
I
want
want this
something
game.
like
This
that.
is the game I want. Just make it better. Just polish it up. But I say if anybody's listening to this, buy it cheap. The PS5 version is going to be a free upgrade, which means once you
Honestly,
upgrade your system, you'll be able to just move on.
honestly, for that price, for the single player that you get, it's great. I thought the campaign was an excellent story, and I told Alan I wish they'd make a movie out of this because this would be a good movie.
pick it up if you haven't. We're obviously still playing it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And
Um,
cross your fingers, it'll get better.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we jump into the tabletop stuff, I tried playing. This is a side note. I tried playing Mario Galaxy on my Switch, and I don't know if I can do it because I tried playing it in handheld mode, and it's
Ooh,
not designed for that. And so I'm gonna
yeah,
try to play it on the TV. But the part of the
yeah,
reason I got the Switch is that I could just lay in my bed and play my Switch. And I did that with Sunshine, and I was looking forward to Galaxy, and it's rough because it's all touchscreen at that point. We'll
yeah.
see.
I was worried about that because I remember playing it in that game specifically with the Joy-Con, or not the yeah, with the Wiimote and the
Hmm.
nunchuck. It was built for that, like they
Yeah,
always do. They always build the controllers around their first Mario game, usually, or the vice versa. And
yeah.
so it's like it works so perfectly. So when I heard it was coming to the Switch, I was like, I don't know how that's gonna work because you do a lot of pointing and moving and wiggling and
The Joy-Con is a Wiimote. It's a better Wiimote. It could does it. You
uh,
can point and stuff with it. It's actually
debatably,
better.
but yeah, I understand.
Debatably, what are you talking about? It's
I mean, it does have some pretty bad drift. I mean,
oh,
when
okay, all right. I mean,
Next counterpoint.
didn't have the drift, it would be entirely a better controller than the Wiimote,
the
but that
Wiimote
drift
only
is
has one joystick. It has no joysticks. Actually, you need the stupid nunchuck.
you need the nunchuck, yeah.
I hate
Uh,
the freaking Wiimote because it forces you to like. Oh, anyways,
I
it's
love the
I
Wiimote.
like. Don't get me wrong. I like the Wii. I have tons of Wii games. I just hate how they force you to use it sometimes. Like, can I just not use it when I don't want to use it?
What do you mean, like the motion control or
Yes, the motion
Okay,
controls.
okay, okay. I get that, but I loved the nunchuck and, Wiimote combo because like, it was the only controller I could, like, lazily just lay back
That's
and just
true.
have my hands
Yeah,
completely
that's
away from each other.
and you can do that with the Switch.
You can with the nunchucks, yeah.
You can, and there's. I'm going to send you a link after this, but there's some cool ones that came out that are supposed to be pretty good.
Alright, we'll
Um,
we'll have to check that out later, but you had some more stuff about Heroclix we wanna talk about.
one of the games, probably the only game I'm heavily involved in, tabletop wise, is Heroclix, and they are changing the rules right now on us and massively. So let me just start, and we'll get through it, and then if you guys have questions, then
This
we'll
just sounds like
maybe because
upsetting me.
I know. At first it does, but hear me out because I'm
All right.
actually really
All
enjoying
right,
it.
I'll hear you out.
So the first big one, to your question, Tomas, is willpower, which allows it it it
Do you have a
allows
stroke?
it allows you to go 2 times in a row. There's no more pushing damage, right? So in this game, you can go 2 times in a row. You get a token for each action that you take, and then you would take damage if you went two
Yeah.
times in a row. There's no more pushing damage at all, which I thought for you, Tomas and Alan too, that was a big deal. Like you guys were sick of that.
I
Now
I
there's no more pushing
I mean,
damage.
yes and no. It worked really well when you could like use Batman to make someone not move because you could just give them that token, and if they wanted to move, they had to push. Like that was kind of nice.
Right?
Like,
So that strategy part of it is gone. I like it because there's so much going on,
mhm.
especially in our games. Like and we haven't played in so long. I know when we play again, we're still going to miss stuff on our
it's gonna be
Yeah.
a
characters.
huge log of a slog. There we go. That's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. A slog of rules again. Because we were actually at a point when we were playing this game that we were to the point where most of us knew the rules pretty well to where we could keep going. But after every time we take like a year or so break and we come back, I know we're going over rules like every turn
Yeah,
because
you're
I
rusty.
always
You're for
forget.
sure. And
Yeah.
that's why I like this is that you're not going to have to remember as
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Do
And
they have that stupid elevation crap still?
yeah, man, we still got
Uh,
elevation. Yeah, I know you hate that one.
it's the way it's worked.
They might be changing it though.
It's the
They
way
might be
it's
changing
worked
it.
I don't like. So maybe I'll like the new way.
Some of the things that they're not going to be adding or they're benching, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Just to give you a couple examples, is hypersonic speed
Oh,
is a big
really?
one. They're not going to be adding that to new characters. If your old pieces have it, you can still use it. But this is obviously for like tournament
Huh.
play, and newer figures won't have it anymore.
But that seems interesting to me because I'm curious what they're replacing it with because supersonic speed was like Flash and Quicksilver's bread and butter. I mean,
Well, but if you think about it now, with all the combinations they have and special, and they had the improved movement
it's
thing,
true.
you could do charge, you could do a special power that
Mhm.
says Flash can go and hit, and
Yeah.
then you know, um,
That's true.
I think,
You just basically explained why they got rid of it,
Yeah.
Tomas. You
Yeah.
said it was their bread and butter,
It's true.
but they could just have a special power.
It's
They
true.
don't need to have that ability.
Yeah, you're right.
so. Leap and climb. It is now it's always activated, right?
Okay.
Before it used to be like, am I going to leap and climb or am I going to running shot?
Yeah.
And you couldn't use them together. Now it's just you could use them together. And to me, like I have, a lot of Batmans have that. A
Mhm.
lot of Spider-Mans have
A
that.
lot of Robins, a lot of
Gambit,
Nightwing, Gambit,
yeah. So a
Nightcrawler.
lot, and the rules they change will be to benefit the characters that they're making.
Mhm.
And then, but the cool thing is when you go back to the older figures, you'll find a few hidden gems that'll be like really beneficial.
Yeah.
Like there's a Gambit from the one of the old sets that literally his special power is running shot and leap and climb.
Mhm.
And when he came out, you had to choose. So you couldn't leap and climb onto a
And running
building to
shot.
shoot someone.
Yeah.
So and then yeah, a couple other ones is range combat expert
Oh,
is
yeah.
just automatic +1 to attack, automatic +1 to damage. You don't have to choose
Oh,
anymore.
wow. So you get them
It's just
both.
well, yeah, that's what it was. You get to either do.
Yeah.
Remember before it was either +2
You
to
had to do one or the
you
other.
put it where you want.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Now it's just
Now
automatic.
it's
To
just
me,
1 and
like
1. Yeah.
that's why I like this. Like the games are going to be moving much quicker.
Mhm. No, but I do like that, I have to ask though because one of my teams is Batman. Outwit?
No changes to Outwit
Okay,
yet.
thank goodness.
I think that power is actually pretty well
Yeah.
balanced. It's got me excited. I'm looking at like new characters and stuff again, which I haven't done in
Oh,
months.
man, now we're gonna have to
Um,
build all new teams. This is gonna be so fun.
the weird thing is though, and Alan said he looked this up too, but the community is outraged. Like the majority of people are outraged with this, and it sounds like a
Um,
little bit like old man yelling at a cloud
Mhm.
mentality.
it really does. I'm just thinking
And
this is probably going to eventually turn into a big retirement to a point where you're going to have to start collecting to keep up, which you already do, but you're going to have to collect
I,
quicker at
I
a
guess
bigger moment to
I
catch up.
think I think so. I think home games, like your older figures for home games, are going to be great
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of
because
course,
like,
yeah.
hypersonic speed is not going away. It's just
It's
not going
just
to be on
banned.
new
Yeah,
pieces.
Yeah.
At least and they said it could change. That meaning like they could update it.
Mhm.
It could be a different power. It
yeah,
could
Well
of
come back.
course.
well, and the thing is I can also see this being this way, but it for me, I'm excited about it because I like to collect the miniatures. I
Yeah. Oh, right.
that to me is just as fun as playing. Some people might not see it that way, so I can understand that standpoint.
The
Like,
pieces are cool, but actually, I like to play. I don't really care about them as much as I just want
Really?
to play.
really, I love
If this game was all digital, I'd actually prefer that because I would have
really,
more
Well,
space.
yeah,
I
I
don't.
guess
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
like
prefer
seeing
it.
them.
I am so hungry for it though.
Yeah,
I would play it so much
yeah.
because
yeah,
they made one.
exactly.
There
Mhm.
was a little beta version that was awful, god awful. It was
but
so glitchy
yeah, they
and
need to
buggy,
work
but
on it.
oh my gosh, I played the crap out of that thing because
Yeah,
you could. It
and
was 3D models on my laptop. I was like,
it
"This
was
is what
3D
I get."
models, and you could play with other people, which you don't have to go to their house to play.
Yeah.
Also, things like this large thing, I know we all are still attached to physical things,
Mhm.
but things like this, they could easily use this and retcon old pieces without making people get new pieces or retiring them even or whatever they wanna do. I mean, they could do stuff like that.
Yeah, but I'll tell you right now, they're not gonna do it because even Magic: The Gathering, who's gone online, still sells its new stuff all the time, and people still buy it.
No,
Like,
no,
Right.
I'm not saying
Oh,
to go all digital, but just
yeah.
have a digital option. Just like Magic the Gathering just released an app on the phone
Mhm.
that's their PC game, which is really well made. I just really wish there's something like this for HeroClix. But
yeah. It's different because there's 3D, printed characters.
Yeah,
It's a little bit different than just cards,
yeah.
but it's still doable.
learning the rules is that's always annoying. And
Mhm.
when you already know something, I could totally see the issue with like, oh well, I already know all the rules, but now I got to relearn everything to play again. But that happens in every game.
Yeah, and I think that's why the rule change is good because it was, we're not able to play in person right now, but it's not like we were looking up clicks anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah,
regardless.
I've been
And to
kind of
me,
avoiding it.
this shakes things up, and it's like, all right, let's find a way, or let's get ready when we can meet up,
Yeah.
whenever that is. You know what I did love though about the online game was the forced time limit. Like you
Yes.
had to make your moves, and then you were locked. You couldn't just be
Yeah.
like, oh, I need one more minute. Yeah, but like,
We
but you
started
didn't have to force it.
yeah. We
But
started
I understand.
yeah.
It's forced. You can't
And
do anything about
it
it.
makes you learn. It
Yeah.
makes you
Yeah,
learn like,
Yeah.
"Oh, shoot, I gotta react
because
quick."
we were kinda doing that, and I remember we talked about buying a chess timer, and I kinda wish we would do that. We'd actually do
Yeah.
that because I think that would be really fun if we had a chess timer, but we'll have to talk about that later. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So, yeah, anyways, that HeroClix changing the rules. If you have no idea what we're talking about, quick Google search will show you a very cool little miniature game. It's a little bit complex, but they're making it new
more
player friendly.
accessible.
Yeah, and we got plenty of. Just hit us up if you wanna know more.
Yeah, and fun fact too, when we were talking about starting this podcast, we almost tried to make a HeroClix focused podcast. That was one of the options,
Yeah.
remember? Just a little fun history fact.
We could do it because I mean, we just spent like 20 minutes. So let's move on though. Kind of finishing out the show here. It's our last segment is our soapbox where we could talk about anything we want. We're each going to give each other a few minutes to just talk about what's on our mind, whether it's nerd related or not. So Tomas, you're first on the soapbox.
All right.
Get on up there, bud.
So I was talking to Alan the other day about the Snyder Cut. He was asking me if I was excited for it because it's going to have a rated R
What real quick, what is the Snyder cut? Just
for the Justice League, I believe it is, right? Yeah, it's for the Justice League. Zack Snyder, who has done some good movies that I like. He's also done some other movies that I'm okay with. Like, I really enjoyed the first 300. I could give a crap about the second 300. And Watchmen was that middle ground. Like, I liked it, but I
yeah,
I could have gone without it. Like,
same here, yeah.
um, and I'm sure I know he's done other things. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
Sucker Punch.
Oh, and I did like Sucker Punch. In terms of the visuals, the story, but the visuals and stuff were amazing. I don't think that Zack Snyder can save the Justice League, and I don't think making it rated R is going to improve anything. And also, it's 3 hours and 34 minutes long. That's, I mean,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
the first one I don't think was that long, and it was too long. Like, you
Yeah.
I understand that you're trying to tell a massive, great epic, but if you're trying to do that, then I feel like, and I was telling Alan, I feel like it should be broken up. He should do like a 1.5 hour one, and then another 1.5 hour one, and then bam, that way.
Aren't they doing that?
I, from what I understand, it's one big chunk. and it just, to me, that just sounds unnecessary. Like, it was too much the first time, and now I'm pretty sure it's even longer now, and that just doesn't help anything, in my opinion. Now, will I watch it? I'll probably watch it to let you guys know if it was good or not. Um,
Oh, I'm gonna watch
yeah,
it.
Yeah, I'm planning on watching it as well.
yeah, it will probably, it will probably be its own movie, right? Like, it's probably the best.
Well, how much time is it adding? It's adding like another hour
I
at least,
feel
right?
like, yeah, I feel like it was only 2.5 hours before. So I feel
So
like we're getting a whole extra hour.
it is gonna be a very different movie, and the only reason I'm watching it, because I feel like I'm getting a little conned into it, is that I'm just so curious as to what.
I am really.
And I don't think I agree with you. I don't think it's gonna save it. I don't think it'll change my opinion on the movie. I hope it doesn't make it worse. I thought Justice League was okay. I mean, better than Shazam. Not uh, but anyways, I'm just so curious. It's very intriguing.
Yeah,
It's a very good marketing ploy, in
yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, I think that is definitely valid. It is a excellent marketing ploy, and because it is gonna get me to watch it a second time, because I wanna see if he can save it. I don't think he's going to save it, but maybe,
No,
maybe.
no, he's not. This is basically a director's cut,
Yeah.
uh, so to speak. Just a very extensive one. And I remember I watched the director's cut of Mallrats. I think I still have it. You remember those old DVDs that were two-sided,
Mhm.
where like one side was, and you could never tell
Yeah.
which side you were putting in. You're like, wait, is it opposite of what it says in the middle? I don't.
Or
And
you'd read the front of the disc trying to see in the little print if it said
yeah,
anywhere, like,
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
is this the actual
gosh,
film, or
I love the idea, but I think they got wise and just made 2 discs. I That's one of my favorite movies, like comedic movies of all time. Kevin Smith did it. It speaks. It's a nerds. It's
Mm,
nerds in a mall talking about nerd stuff throughout the whole movie, and it's a great paced movie. I mean, Batman himself, Batfleck, is in it
yeah.
as the villain. It's great. But then I watched the director's cut, hoping to be like, oh, there's going to be so many funny outtakes and things that they took out, and it was a whole different movie, and it was like darker. It was like
Mm,
way more serious, which maybe what's what he was going for, but it was
maybe.
just like, oh, and it bombed. Like
Yeah,
the theatrical cut bombed, but I don't know if the director's cut would have done any better.
yeah.
To be honest,
Well, like, I don't know how you guys feel about Zack Snyder, but like I said, for me, he's he's a kind of polar director for me, because I feel like he makes a lot of things. I was telling Alan this. I feel like he makes a lot of things for that very, what do you call it? That very niche group.
it was created for those who enjoyed the graphic novel. It wasn't created for people to hook people in.
Like I said, if he makes movies for certain fans because of his enjoyment for the piece, maybe he might do something that makes it good, because maybe he's that committed to it. I don't know. Like I said, didn't really like Watchmen, liked 300, hated 300 too.
Zack Snyder is an interesting director that I've always enjoyed in the past, but it does definitely seem as I got older, I've liked his movies less, at least the ones I've seen. But then
yeah,
again, the ones he's really been doing recently have been the DC movies, which I have had issues with almost every one, except for until recently the some of the ones I've seen. Uh, but I do worry about it because I don't think he's gonna fix it. And like I've told you guys in the past with Wonder Woman, and even in some cases, there's even a couple times in Aquaman and some other DC movies where they have this slow mo effect that's supposed to intensify a badass moment or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it, and it works at times, but I feel like at other times it really doesn't work, and it just kind of pulls you out of it, and it just gets a little
Mhm.
annoying. I do worry about this movie. I saw the Batman v Superman extended cut because everybody's like, "Oh, this is what's gonna fix it,"
It-
and I didn't fix nothing. It was
Well,
just like, okay, it's
yeah,
longer
well,
now.
I'll
What
I'll
about
say
it?
this, in the Batman v Superman thing, it definitely didn't fix really anything, but it did clear some things up at least. Like for me at least, it was like,
Yes.
oh, okay, I now understand why Bruce and Superman are in this same meeting.
The point is, I don't think that this is going to fix it. I don't think Zack Snyder has a magic wand. There was no original Zack Snyder cut. There was just a throw together that he went in and he actually shot more scenes. He
Oh,
re-edited the entire movie.
this is for
Uh,
Justice League,
yeah,
or
this Justice movie,
Yeah.
the
oh,
Justice League movie.
okay.
So
Well, yeah. See, that's part. I'm a
yeah,
little bit more
so
curious now.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like there was a magic Zack Snyder cut that was hidden in a vault that they just pulled out. No, they paid him millions of dollars to go in and attempt to
Yeah.
fix this movie.
Well, from what I've seen, from what I just looked up reading here, and this is only just one website, so it's not a lot of sources, but from here, it looks like he had a very big fight with WB trying to get certain people back to film. Apparently he got everyone
I
back.
bet.
Apparently he got everyone back to film though.
Well,
Uh,
we'll find out. You guys will hear it here at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll
Whenever,
talk
when is
about
it
it.
released
March
for all of us?
18. March 18.
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about rating. There was a new update in Final Fantasy. I didn't feel like it deserved its own section or anything like that. I'm the only who plays it, so I figured it's probably good to go to my soapbox. And the update is interesting. More Blue Mage stuff and a lot of Bojin stuff, which is a separate area where you can do different things. They've added a new separate 24-man raid for that, which sounds interesting, but I haven't touched it. And a new part to the relic or Ultima weapon, whatever you want to call it. They call it relic in Final Fantasy 14, but I think in other Final Fantasy games they call it an Ultima weapon. But it's basically the weapon you build over a long period of time for whatever class. So that's been really cool. But really, what I wanted to discuss is I was actually running with a raid team for a long time for 2 tiers, and there were some really close friends that I still talk to. Unfortunately, it fell apart last tier, and was I was trying to rebuild at this tier, and it just became too much for me. Uh, as it was just I was working with other people to build it, and then when all those other people were gone and it was just me doing it by myself, it became too much. So I had to close it down. Fortunately, I found a team that I've been working with this tier so far, and we're already on the third of the tier, which is 4 fights. And I just really wanted to say that it's been a really great experience getting to know these people, and I can't wait to move forward. And it's just it's kind of nice to find a group of people to actually run content with that seem to want to go the same pace I do, not go too fast, but take your time, learn the fight, but yet to have the quality of doing the learning their classes and everything like that. So it's been a really joy running with them. So I kind of want to just give them a shout out uh, on here that I've just been having a great time with it. It's been really cool. And so I guess the moral of the story is pull yourself out there sometime if you really want to do like multiplayer content and join a team that's actually running it. And usually the places they'll usually say what they want to do. So yeah, if they line up, check them out. Maybe you'll find something really cool. Like I think I found something really nice. I mean, we've only been going for too long, so it's not like like we're not like best friends or anything. But I think we're getting to know each other really well, and I think I'm just having a good time doing it. And they're putting up with my mediocre performance. So I'm enjoying it.
I'm sure it's better than that. Um, that's interesting though that you say that, because in the online game I've played, that I've been playing for I think over 5 years now, every single day, is Star Wars, um, Galaxy of Heroes, and I think last 1 or 2 weeks ago left my guild that I had been with for like a year. I had the guild I'm at now is a little bit more lax, and I'm just kind of using it as a stepping stone until I unlock Gucci Palpatine. Um, which Gucci Palpatine is the sequel Palpatine guy,
Yeah,
because he has a little red, yeah, thing.
that's cool.
But
Yeah.
he's one of the game changers, and I'll probably get him unlocked this week, and then I find a guild that's doing the big boy raids. So, I mean, that ties in a little bit with what I want to talk about. My question is downloadable content for video games. And like, for me, let me just throw this question out there. Do you guys always get the DLC for games you buy?
No, it depends on the game.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it varies.
And so what
Uh,
is that? What is that variable? What's the factor?
Usually the criteria for me is uh if I'm playing the game and I get to the end and I'm like, I don't want this to be the end. And instead of having to play
Mm.
New Game Plus, I can look and see if there's any DLC, and then I usually
What?
grab it.
Yeah. What would be an example of that?
Like for example, Neo 2 especially. Uh I got the game, I was playing it. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it as much as the first one. I got to the end of it and yeah, I could get all 3 expansions for $10. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Nice.
So
yeah. I don't usually get the DLCs, unless and my stipulation is very similar. Is that I'll beat the game, and then if I want more, I will be happy to purchase more if I think it's worth it. But I have been in the past. I have bought like season passes. Like I bought. I think the last season pass I bought was for Batman. I think it was Batman: The Arkham Knight. I think that was the last one I bought, and I was actually very disappointed by it. So I haven't got a season pass since. But
Mm.
yeah, I'll usually grab them if I feel I want more in the game, but I don't usually do cosmetic stuff.
I usually don't do season passes anymore because I kind of got burned on them as well. But there are still a few companies that I'll do season passes, but I will usually only do a season pass if I have played the game prior, like whatever the company releases this game and I played that game and I was like, "Oh, I really liked that." So like I used to get Assassin's Creed games. I used to get their season
Uh,
passes all the time. And then Assassin's Creed Syndicate really burned me bad, even worse than Assassin's Creed 3, and I haven't gotten season passes from there on out. So,
that's interesting that it takes one game to burn you
yeah.
because you're a pretty big Assassin's Creed fan. I
Yeah.
think you still play them,
Oh, yeah,
right?
I still play them, but I
It's just
don't get the DLC now for every single one. I used to, but not anymore.
the one I did get, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on the podcast, was for Zelda Breath of the Wild,
Hmm.
which I love Zelda, and this is the first time they've done that with any Zelda,
Mhm.
was add content. And the reason I got it was that the guy at GameStop let me have the printed cover. I'll buy this if you give me the case. And he's like, and he's at first he's like, what? No. And I was like, all right, I don't want it then. He's like, all right, all right. He's like, I probably got more in the back anyways. I was like, okay, good. Then you got a deal. Um, and the cool thing about Breath of the Wild is that you can get costumes if you have the amiibo.
Oh,
You
really?
can,
Yeah.
yeah, like you can get like if you have the old. I have the Twilight Princess amiibo link, so you can put them in the game and you get the costume. But it's a kind of a tedious thing.
Yeah, I did that actually. I never beat that game, but that was I do have the Ocarina of Time
Oh,
uh
I want that one.
amiibo, and I went out of my way to get that
It,
because I
yeah,
love that game.
they only give you one piece at a time, and you can
Hmm.
only use it once a day.
And then you gotta like to upgrade it. You have to get those pieces, and
Mhm.
it's I don't think it's ever as good as some of the other stuff you can get too.
Yeah,
It's like a little worse,
it
which
just looks good.
sucks. Yeah,
Well, yeah,
and
because I mean, I guess technically you are paying for it. You bought the amiibo, so I
Mhm.
mean
well,
that's
but
the
you also
long
have to.
con with
Yeah, but
Nintendo.
you also have to
They got
upgrade
you.
it too. Yeah, you gotta upgrade it too. But
Yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Well,
I
no,
mean,
that's why I
it was
say
a
it's
cool
not.
process though.
That's why it's not OP because you can't just buy your way to the best armor.
Well,
Like they don't want that.
I wish I could upgrade it to the best armor because I would like to use
Yeah,
that preferably over
but
the other
like that's what
one.
I'm
But
saying.
yeah,
Like you still like even that option, people would totally do that, and
yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
want to
you
be able
sure
to do
you're
that.
wrong.
I, I'm wrong.
No, I mean, sorry, I meant you're right. Sorry,
Oh,
I don't know why I said
like
I'm
all
you're
right.
wrong.
Counterpoint number two. Here we go. Um,
No,
No,
you're
you're
right. You
no.
don't want the amiibo to just give people the best stuff in the game because
yeah,
that's not only not fair to the people who don't have the amiibo, but also kind of ruins the game for people who do have the
it'll
amiibo
ruin it.
anyways.
It
Yeah.
will ruin the game. Yeah, I bought a used copy of Arkham Knight that came with some costume codes. It was
Mm,
probably like maybe it was a pre-order bonus that they never used,
yeah.
uh, and and they worked. And I got that Adam West costume, and I played the whole game as Adam West, just a jacked up Adam West, and
I
it was fantastic.
I've actually been thinking about breaking Arkham Knight out again. I have played the first Arkham one, I think 2 times. I played Arkham,
Asylum?
yeah, Asylum 2 times. I played Arkham
Okay.
City 4. I know I've done it four
Oh my
times,
gosh. Yeah.
and I
Origins?
Origins I did 2, and City I've only done once. I mean, Night I've only done once. So I've been like, maybe I should just break it out for one more run.
What let me ask you this, and then we'll finish the episode. If you go back to it, are you gonna get all the Riddler trophies?
Yeah, because I'll have to.
Oh,
It's the only
well that
one.
okay.
It's the only one I haven't done all the Riddler
Oh,
trophies.
you didn't yeah. The Batmobile gets tedious. Not the worst thing in the world, it's just tedious.
Riddler finally got to me by the third time. I was just like, no, I'm done with him. I'm
You
done.
broke the bat.
I don't need
That's
to.
funny.
I don't need to bother myself with you anymore. I'm so done.
That's what I do like about that is that, it's almost like, you feel like Batman, you're like, "Look, I'm just tired of
Yeah,
this stuff, man. This is a circus. I'm out. Like, you can have Catwoman. It's fine." Like,
she can probably get out on her own. I don't need to do this.
she'll figure it out. It's a big trap. It's a big two-time thing. I'm outta here. Yeah,
So done.
that's funny. That's a perfect way to finish the show.
I
Um
think so. Yeah.
I do want to mention before we end that we used to have a quiz. We completely forgot about it last week, which is part of this restructuring thing we're talking about. We are going to have a winner take all quiz in an upcoming podcast, so look forward to that as we change things up a little bit. But thank you. If you made it this far, you're awesome. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
All right. See you guys later.
See you next time. All right, let's move on.